Hello and welcome to Extra Innings, everybody. I am your host, Vann Noland, alongside Owen Noland tonight for a very interesting episode. We have a few peculiar injuries, the first major trade of the 2018 season. But first, we're going to start, like we always do, with the Prospect Roundup, presented by the Fire Fan app. Owen, what do you have for us tonight?
Yes, the Prospect Roundup, highlighting players that did well yesterday throughout the minor leagues. We start in the Houston Astros organization. Yeah, their big league club is playing pretty well, and so is Yordan Alvarez, an outfielder in the Astros organization. He's currently at AA Corpus Christi. Yesterday, he went 2 for 5 with a home run and 4 RBIs for Alvarez. He is ranked the number 4 prospect in the Houston Astros organization and is currently, like I said, at AA Corpus Christi. The next player on tonight's edition of the Prospect Roundup is also an outfielder, so the second outfielder on the list. He plays in the San Francisco Giants organization. His name is Austin Slater, and he plays for the Sacramento River Cats, the AAA affiliate of the San Francisco Giants. Yesterday, he went 2 for 4 with a home run, a double, and he drove in 2 RBIs. He's the number 5 prospect in the San Francisco Giants organization. That's Austin Slater playing for AAA Sacramento. And the final player to highlight tonight is a right-handed pitcher who has been dominant all season at AAA Memphis, Dakota Hudson. AAA Memphis is the St. Louis Cardinals affiliate, and last night Dakota Hudson threw 6 innings, giving up only 1 earned run, scattering 8 hits across the 6 innings, only walking 2 and striking out 4. Dakota Hudson might already be in the majors if the Cardinals didn't already have 5 great starting pitchers. They've got a lot of young kids that are pitching well for them at the moment in the big leagues, and there's currently not really a roster spot available for Dakota Hudson. Although he does have the lowest ERA in the Pacific Coast League at 2.13. It went down yesterday after only allowing the 1 earned run. Again, that's Dakota Hudson. Maybe he'll get the call, who knows, sooner, it seems like, rather than later for Dakota Hudson, because he has dominated PCL hitters all year long. Again, that's Dakota Hudson, a right-handed pitcher in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. And this has been the Prospect Roundup presented by the Fire Fan app. Be sure to download that today. And without further ado, let's get right into the MLB news. Van, you've got some peculiar injuries, something you don't hear about every day.
Yes, I do. A pair of closers were injured. For the Cubs, it was their closer, Brandon Morrow. The Cubs were flying home back to Chicago after a 3-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals. And they arrived early Monday, and Brandon Morrow was, I guess, at home taking off a pair of pants, and he began to have back spasms, so he was unavailable for tonight's game against... who are they playing tonight? Against the Dodgers. So that's an unusual one, you getting hurt.
Has he been placed on the DL yet?
He has not been placed on the DL yet. There is no real timetable yet for his return. I don't know if it's a serious back spasms or not, but to keep you out of a game because you're taking off your pants is, well, A, embarrassing, and B, kind of unfortunate for the Cubs. The other closer that got hurt We hear about this one more often, but it's not any better. Hunter Strickland blew a save and was angry at himself, I guess like a big leaguer would be. And he took his frustration out on a clubhouse wall. He punched the wall with his throwing hand and is now expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. He has been placed on the DL. Like I said, expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks with the hand injury. So very strange injury. Definitely right when the Giants were starting to get healthy. You see your closer go down and it's never good. So we'll see how that affects the Giants because it certainly will have a big impact going forward. We also had the first trade of the season. The Kansas City Royals are selling early and most likely often. They traded away star closer Kelvin Herrera. They traded him to the Washington Nationals. And in return, they received Kelvin Gutierrez, the number 10 prospect in the Nationals organization. Blake Perkins is the number 11 prospect in the Nationals organization. And Yohansi Morer, who is currently not in the top 30 prospects because he has not officially played a game in the United States with the Nationals organization yet. But 3 prospects in return for potential all-star Kelvin Herrera certainly has played that way for the majority of the year. In about 25 innings, he has an ERA just over 1 at 1.05. And he has 22 strikeouts compared to just 2 walks. So an incredible strikeout-to-walk ratio for Kelvin Herrera. Just incredible all-around year as he looks to help the Nationals get to the World Series and hopefully bring a title to Washington. Owen, what are your thoughts on the move? How do you think this impacts both the Royals and the Nationals going forward?
I think it's a great move for the Nationals. It seems like every year they talk about getting a bullpen pieces. Last year they added Brandon Kintzler at the deadline. This year, maybe being a little bit more proactive, getting Kelvin Herrera. Here we are in June, over a month away from the trade deadline. So a great move for the Nationals. And as for the Royals, it's interesting. I think they could have gotten a bit more in return. Not highly sought of prospects. Obviously good players, otherwise I don't think the Royals would want to trade for them. But the Nationals didn't have to give up any of their top prospects, their elite prospects, in the deal, so a great deal for them. Royals obviously in the midst of a rebuild. They're in Kansas City trying to get as many young players as they can. So it's an interesting move. A lot of teams, I think, need bullpen help, and the Nationals getting out in front of the reliever market early, getting a former All-Star closer who was a key piece to that Royals 2015 World Series and 2014 American League Championship run. So he's pitched in the postseason. He knows how to pitch in the postseason, which is exactly what I just said. I said that twice in a row. Okay.
We've seen in previous years relievers have a high price tag on them. We've seen a lot of top-notch relievers that have been traded for top-notch prospects in return. I'm talking top 5 guys in a team's system. Only one of the prospects in this trade being in the top 10 of the national system. How do you think this sets the reliever market for this year, going forward, for a lot of other relievers that are on the market?
This is interesting. I still think teams are going to have to give up more for a relief pitcher going forward. I think this was kind of an anomaly, if you will. you look at it in the past, Aroldis Chapman was traded to the Cubs for a guy named Gleyber Torres, who is now tearing it up for the Yankees. And now Aroldis Chapman is ironically back with the Yankees, but you had to give up a top prospect there. In that deal, lots of other cases where teams have given up top prospects for relief pitching. This one, I think not one of them, but I think it still is, like I said, sort of an anomaly. You're still going to have to give up I think, a top prospect for a reliever. If you look at Kelvin Herrera and his trends, his fastball velocity has gone down each year since 2015. Strikeout rate has gone down, so maybe that played a part in it. The Nationals not wanting to give up a top prospect.
See, I would go the other way on this. I think that the reliever market, the asking price will be a little bit lower this year because of this trade.
Why?
You could argue...
Just because of this one trade?
Yes, you could argue...
Well, don't you know the value of the bullpen, especially nowadays? We have them starting games now, man.
Yes.
That's how important they are.
Yes, but a guy like Kelvin Herrera, you could argue, has been a top 5 pitcher, a top 5 reliever in the American League this year. And you mentioned things like fastball velocity going down, his K rate going down. I don't think that really has an effect because they were
why
high
not?
to begin with. He's still proven that he's able to pitch at a high level every night. For the Royals, a team not even in contention, and in Washington, he's going to be the setup man. So I don't think there's any reason to not trust a guy like Kelvin Herrera, even though...
I never said there was. I just said I think the Nationals didn't want to give up as much for a guy like Kelvin Herrera. Now, if you go out and acquire an all-star reliever like Zach Britton, who was in a Cy Young discussion last year, you're telling me that whoever goes out and tries to acquire Zach Britton is not going to have to give up one of their top 3 or 4 prospects?
Yeah, I think...
You really think the Orioles aren't going to get a top 5 prospect in any system in baseball? They're not going to get a top 5 prospect back for Zach Britton?
Okay, I think they might get one top 5 prospect.
Exactly. Like a Gleyber Torres was in that Aroldis Chapman deal.
I don't think they'll get anyone of that caliber in...
Why not?
A deal for Zach Britton. It's kind of hard to do what Gleyber Torres has done this year.
You're right, it has, and it's hard for anybody to do that. But somebody, an all-star player, a potential all-star player, you don't think the Orioles are going to get a potential all-star back for Zach Britton?
Yeah, I think they might. I could see that.
So then you just proved your own point wrong.
No, I think...
You said the reliever market is going to go down or something.
Right.
So you just proved your own point wrong by saying the Orioles are going to get an all-star back for Zach Britton.
I said they could get a potential all-star back for Zach. I'm not saying, I think Gleyber Torres is the kind of player who's going to be on all-star teams.
And maybe I shouldn't have used Gleyber Torres.
Maybe the next decade. I don't know if they're going to get someone of that caliber. You said a top-level prospect.
I think they'll get a top-level prospect.
I'm thinking top 3 in their organization.
Which is a top-level prospect.
Yes, I don't know if they'll have that. I think the Royals, what they did in this trade, they filled out their farm system with a little more depth. Let's take a look at... I actually don't know if their top prospect list has been updated yet, but I am going to take a look right now. Their top prospect list has been updated, and Kelvin Gutierrez is 10th on that or 8th on the Royals list. And Blake Perkins is 15th on the Royals list. So Kelvin Gutierrez 10th, Blake Perkins 11th in the national system now. Kelvin Gutierrez 8th and Blake Perkins 15th in the Royals system. Just adds to the depth that the Royals now have in their system. I really don't know if they were necessarily looking for a top-line player. I think...
But don't you think the Orioles would be if they were going to trade Zach Britton? Right, Zach Britton was a guy that people thought should have been in the Cy Young conversation last year. Cy Young as a reliever.
Yes. I think
so. Zach Britton has been the most dominant closer the past couple of years in the American League. He's been better than Kelvin Herrera. So wouldn't you expect them to want a better return for a guy like Britton?
Only slightly better.
Only slightly better?
Yes.
I could actually see that. Instead of the number 8 prospect, they get the number 5 prospect. That would be slightly better, and you'd get a top 5 prospect back.
Yes, but then would you get 2 top 15 prospects for your organization in
yes.
that trade? I don't think.
I bet you would.
I don't think you'd get.
I guarantee you would for Zach Britton.
I don't think so. I think you one top line prospect, and then the Orioles system is a little bit depleted. It's certainly not like top of the line, top tier for a farm system, but if they could add a top 5 prospect to their system by trading Zach Britton, I think that would be good. And then I don't necessarily know how hard it is to be a top, even 20 prospect for the Orioles. So maybe a guy who's maybe top 15 or maybe top 20 in one system turns into a top 15 prospect in the Orioles system, just because of the lack of depth.
Yeah, you could see that, but I still think that doesn't change the fact that they want to get at least 2 top-line prospects back.
They may want that. I don't know if a team would be willing to part ways with 2 top-line prospects. So think of possible destinations for Zach Britton. Go ahead and name a few.
Well, there are plenty, actually.
Okay.
Colorado needs a reliever, Arizona, Los Angeles, Chicago, Milwaukee.
Okay, let's take
There's not a shortage of teams that need relief pitching.
Okay,
Philadelphia, Atlanta.
Okay, let's take the Rockies, for example. What would the Rockies be willing to give up, maybe?
They'd probably have to give up like a Riley Pint.
Really?
Yes. And maybe a Garrett Hampson or Ryan Castellani or Tyler Nevin.
Interesting.
You seem shocked by this.
I don't think the Rockies.
I don't think you quite know how good Zach Britton has been the past couple of years.
I don't know if the Rockies would be quite willing to part ways with Riley Pint.
I don't think any team would be wanting to part ways with a top prospect like that. I'm just saying. But if you want to get better right now and your goal is to win now, then I think you would do it to get a guy like Zach Britton.
Okay, the interesting team you mentioned there was the Philadelphia Phillies. A team sort of a few years ahead of schedule as far as their rebuild goes, I would say.
I would say they're not rebuilding anymore. I think it's safe to say that.
Okay, so would you be willing to part ways with a guy like Mickey Moniak, a former number 1 overall pick, top 4 in their system? Or would you give up a guy, maybe a little...
I would give up Moniak because, let's see, he was the number 1 overall pick 2 years ago? Or 3 years ago? I think 3 years ago. So he's still a little bit ways away from reaching the big leagues. And the Phillies, their window of contention, how long they're going to be in contention, will probably end before Moniak.
No, I think Mickey Moniak's in the perfect place. I don't think the Phillies would be willing to deal a guy like Mickey Moniak. Maybe a guy more big league ready. A little closer to the big leagues.
I could see that too, but
AAA,
I think if you're
the
the Orioles, you still have to try to get a guy like Moniak, a former number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I think
guy with a high ceiling.
I think he'll ask for that, and I don't know if the Phillies will even be willing to negotiate any sort of deal. We can't talk about this all day, trade scenarios, and I'm sure a lot of it will play itself out. As we get a lot closer, we still have over a month until the trade deadline. So we are going to get just a little more news here. The Astros are the hottest team in baseball right now. Entering today, they were winners of 12 straight games. And I'm looking for a result from today. Oh, and you get Astros. Never mind.
You got it? Okay.
Yes, the Astros were off today. That is real. Nope, never mind. They are losing currently.
Uh-oh.
In the bottom of the ninth against the Rays. So the win streak on the line for the Houston Astros. They have a 2.5 game lead over the Mariners last week. The Mariners had the division lead, but the Astros have since taken it back. And now sit atop the AL West. Should be a great race between the Mariners and the Astros, and you never know, maybe Shohei Ohtani returns this year for the Angels, and they can somehow get back into it. Because the Angels currently have a ways to go, sit 10.5 games out. Despite the play of Mike Trout, who is hitting over 600.
Couldn't you have said that every year?
Yes.
Every year the Angels have failed to miss the playoffs.
It's the same story.
They failed to miss the playoffs despite Mike Trout being like the best player on the planet. It's the same story. And it's unfortunate that Ohtani went down. A big loss for the Angels in the rotation and in the lineup. We'll see. They're still in contention for a wild card.
Yes.
Although it's hard to keep pace with the Astros when they go on a 12-game winning streak.
Yes, and from the AL East to the AL West, to the National League West, it continues. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers continue to stretch their lead over the other three teams in the division. The Rockies have played absolutely terrible over their past few games. It's mainly been the bullpen has been the big issue.
It's been the only issue.
Yes. You want to talk about this?
No, I don't want to think about that.
We'll talk about the Diamondbacks instead. 7-3 in their last 10, 8 games above 500. A game and a half up on the Dodgers.
The Diamondbacks seem to be a very streaky team this year. They started off really hot, and everybody was like, oh, they're going to run away with the division. And then they hit the stretch in May where it seemed like they couldn't win for losing. And they came back to the rest of the NL West. The Dodgers, Rockies, Giants all kind of caught up to them. And now they're 7-3 in their last 10, 8 games above 500. Now maybe they're starting to run away with it again. But as soon as I say that, you know they're going to start losing again. Even though...
Well, I think the Diamondbacks sort of hinge on Paul Goldschmidt.
But that's not the case. He started off slow and they still won anyways.
But he didn't start off too slow. When they were losing, he was at his worst.
But he just got off to a terrible start to the season. The Diamondbacks actually got off to a good start to the season.
Okay, yes. But He has started to play better, and the Diamondbacks, too, have started to play a lot better. The Dodgers, though, are not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. Clayton Kershaw, well.
Once he returns, the Dodgers, that could be a very, I think, good division race between the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. I'd like to say the Rockies, but the way their bullpen has pitched, they're not going to be contending for much of anything. They could turn it around, and I hope they do as a Rockies fan, but right now I don't see that happen. Once the Dodgers get Kershaw back, I think it'll be a really tight race. The NL West and the AL East could be the most exciting two-team division races as we come to July and August, the dog days of summer, as they're called.
Yes, getting back to the point about the Rockies, at the beginning of the year, they were on pace for one of the worst offensive seasons in all of baseball history. Forget even just Rockies history, just all of MLB history. They have turned that around lately and have played at least average to above average. And it was easy to say, like, oh, the Rockies will break out of this slump. They're bound to hit. They play at Coors Field, yada, yada, yada. It's hard to envision them not hitting for an entire year. And really the pitching staff pitched well for the majority of the beginning of this year. And now it's the bullpen, and it just seems like an endless cycle of... To put this into perspective, yesterday the Rockies gave up 9 runs from the 7th inning to the rest of the game. They gave up 1 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, and 6 in the 9th inning. And it's just hard to watch, and it just doesn't seem like they'll ever pull out of it. But kind of. Maybe.
And the sad part is the offense has started to hit well. You scored 12 runs on Sunday and lost. And that was in Texas, so the Rangers...
Not even in Coors Field.
Yeah, not even at Coors Field. Tonight, they haven't brought in any bullpen pitchers yet, so fingers crossed. It's 9-2. The Rockies have the lead.
Yeah. You want to talk about Sunday's loss?
No. I do not want to talk about that. That was a bad game. Bad Rockies. It was possibly the worst loss in franchise history.
Yeah.
The Rockies, it was kind of back and forth. Rockies had a 5-1 lead. Rangers come back. John Gray had been pitching really well and then just completely imploded. Gave up 5 runs. They were losing 6-5. Came back, took the lead. Rangers got a couple runs back. And then the 9th, it was 10-9. Trevor Story hits a 2-run home run. We take a 3-run lead. Rockies are up 12-9. Bring in Wade Davis. You think he's going to shut the door, right? Well, wrong. Walked 4 batters?
3.
3 batters, including 2 walks with the bases loaded that led to 2 runs. And then a little blooper into left field that scored both the game-tying and the game-winning run for the Rangers. Walks will haunt. They haunted Wade Davis on Sunday. Walking in 2 runs in the 9th and eventually leading to the game-winning runs for the Rangers. A tough loss to swallow for the Rockies in the bullpen especially. Seems like whoever Bud Black brings in, it just seems like it's just waiting for them to give up 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 runs. Yesterday was terrible too. Rockies were in a close game, down 3-1 to the Mets. Bullpen comes in, gives up a run in the 7th. Okay, 4-1. Then they give up 2 more in the 8th, and then Jeff Hoffman comes in, and actually, I don't think he gave up all 6 runs. But all in all, 6 runs in the 9th inning, and then you're completely out of it when you head to the bottom half of the 9th. Just not fair to the offense.
And isn't it pretty crazy to think about that they have a all-star in the bullpen in Adam Ottavino?
Well, the problem is they never get to use him.
I don't know why we only use him on the plus side at this point. I mean, I get that he pitched on the plus side on Friday, and then should have used him again on Sunday, I guess. But I don't know, just nothing Bud Black can do.
Maybe he should become the closer.
Bud Black?
No! Adam Ottavino. Oh, no. Adam Ottavino, the closer. I mean, he is the best relief pitcher. He has a save this year. Yeah. Actually, against the Mets, who they're playing right now. As the score stands, hopefully he won't need to use a closer. Otherwise, something has gone terribly wrong. But then again, should Rocky Shins be really surprised if it does? No. All of this has happened before, and all of it will happen again, unfortunately.
I don't know if I've ever seen it. I don't know if it will ever happen again. I don't know.
You don't think our bullpen will ever implode again?
I don't think any bullpen will ever implode this bad again.
Oh. No. It will happen again.
I don't know.
I bet you don't think one time the rest of the year we're not going to blow a lead?
Oh, no. I'm saying I don't think throughout the course of baseball history a team will ever have a stretch of a bullpen play that is this atrocious and hard
that
to
would
watch.
be hard to do.
Exactly.
You're right. So it might not ever happen again. It's just a matter of when it stops. What did Bud Black say? Bud Black had a funny quote today. Something about worms.
The worm will turn over?
Yeah, something. I didn't quite get the comparison, what he was trying to say there. Something about the bullpen will snap out of it and start pitching better.
I don't know that worms exactly turn over either.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a worm expert here. If somebody is, maybe they
worms
can
just crawl on the ground.
Yeah, maybe they should enlighten us. Obviously, we don't know too much about worms. But maybe Bud Black does. Maybe that's what Bud Black. I don't know. Maybe he just likes worms.
Yeah. Anyways, that will just about do it for the show tonight. Next week we will have a standings update. We will also have an all-star voting update next week. They release those every Tuesday. But we will update you every other week on that until, of course, the week of the All-Star game. So that is that. We would like to thank you for listening tonight to Extra Innings whenever and however you have listened to us tonight. You have been listening to Extra Innings on National Sports Radio.